but for me, man, I'm being challenged. So anyway, let me know if is he getting better. I think Tim's for some reason is one of the worst. I think Paul is now gotten sorted. I think it's not the same as usual though. That's the problem. But we'll try to get it. We'll try to work through it, folks. Don't forget to smash the like button though. Help support the channel. I mean, it takes a lot to bring the shows to you, and unfortunately tonight is not our best. We're not at our best tonight, so apologies for that one. But So Walter Mata scoring, of course, that's a positive for him. That's where I kind of left off. Everybody, you guys kept on talking and talking and talking. But either way, I think Alan Shearer did speak about Walter Mata, and I think also about Wissa. So let's take a listen to what War Shearer had to say about this. Let's see.
Shearer.
Impressive start, I think, with the price tag, with the pressure. I would think he's very, very satisfied and very happy with the way things are going. I think the fans are. They've liked what they've seen. Improvement can be made, absolutely. I'm sure that Eddie will do that with him. But yeah, he's made a brilliant start.
The man that inherited your shirt, Jan Wissa, he should come into the squad and give the forward line another boost.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at what they've got on the right-hand side with Murphy and with Alanga, and then the left-hand side with Barnes and Gordon, and then if you can get Wissa fit, then those two up front, him and Voltamare, it's a pretty formidable forward line.
There you go. Impressive start. That was a goal there. So, what do you guys make of? I mean, Alan Shearer. I mean, obviously had to support the team from afar. It's we wouldn't expect any. This was, by the way, last week I think on the something to do with England, some get together or something. So, but that is that. So, what do you guys? I want to get your opinion on Ross Wilson. He just became DOF. Might he win? Again, I just simply asked a question earlier today. Simply asked a question. That's it. Can't ask questions anymore in England, it appears, because I simply asked. What would be the reasons of why he'd be, he'd be signed? Just that's a question. That's it, man. So that is simple as that. And Wynn took it. He's negative. There's negative, trying to make an argument out of it when I simply asked a question. I mean, I just wanted to know his curriculum. But all right, what he did in football. That's it. I wasn't even questioning whether I think he's bad or good. I just want to know what happened. So, but what do you guys make of Ross Wilson?
The application was there.
And Boki, actually, I didn't even know. I swear I didn't even know that Ross Wilson and Eddie Howe are, they're best mates. I didn't even know. I didn't. But apparently it's out there. Like, they've been really close together. They know each other. They do. So you confirmed that as well. I mean, I didn't have a clue.
Where from?
I believe they went on to coaches training together a few times, which is where it's come from, which is how they got to know each other.
I read they were at Bournemouth.
Was it Bournemouth? I know wasn't he at Southampton?
I think people are getting Wilson mixed up with one of the other front runners for the job, whose name escapes me, but who we did work with at Bournemouth. And I think people are conflating the two wrongly.
I don't think he worked with them at Bournemouth, but I do think that they've gone through some of the coaching stuff together. They've been through like different courses together.
Yeah. Which, listen, I'm assuming he's got capabilities to be on the job, and maybe that's the one that got him over the edge is the fact that he knew the manager, so he knew that he wasn't going to, per se, look for a fight or look just after himself, which I don't think anybody should do, even if they don't know each other. If there's a new host that comes here and they just need to do their job, they can't just get angry at Mighty Win at the first take. That's a lot. It takes a lot, by the way. But, so you just got to ride through the waves and eventually, build up your anger naturally like you would against anything that Mighty Win has to say. But, So is that okay though? That that people think that he's just a friend. Somebody in the chat says that Eddie got his yes man. If that's the case, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
Again, agenda. The Chronicle.
Everybody's got an agenda. So
the Chronicle spoke to a Welling Forest reporter who said that Ross Wilson was extremely well respected amongst everybody at Forest.
which is good.
You know, the players and everything, that he got on really well, which is the opposite of what the reports came back about Paul Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Do you know what the problem I have with if he is an Eddie Howe appointment? Firstly, as director of football, Eddie Howe should have been informed who was coming in as director of football, which should have had nothing to do with the actual choice of the person who was coming in. And the second issue I've got is if it is an Eddie Howe, yes or no, man, which people are saying in the chat. I'm not saying that myself yet, but if it is another one, it means the recruitment team isn't going to change around at all, which is what we need is a rebuild of that whole structure. And if it is just somebody else who's going to just there basically to work for Eddie Howe and do what Eddie Howe wants, then nothing's really changed.
yeah, but my argument against that what you've just said is, what the hell's the matter with the recruitment system? You know, you look at what that recruitment system has brought
Come on, man.
and there just ain't any misses amongst them.
We've got one striker at the minute. Well, one in a youth striker. Our new midfielder's knackered. You know, we've got £100 million that we've spent in the summer that we haven't played for properly yet.
Well,
Is that great recruitment?
Well, injuries happen.
You may no, but you and Bogey had a bust up earlier on in the transfer window show where I simply didn't. I just asked a question and he got upset. I asked a question whether this has been it was a damage. I don't know the word, but it wasn't a good window. It was a damaging window or something like that. And you lost your mind over it that it wasn't a good window, and it took you long enough to get to that point, by the way, because the whole window you kept saying everything is great, we'll get it done, no worries. But until the end, you said it ended up being not so.
By the finish, we had done it. The problem was that there were 3 league games into the
so
season.
their recruitment is not good because they got players late. And,
yeah, but that's because at the time that we had no CAU and no DOF.
No, but
the
people in charge have always been, since Mitchell left, and always been Eddie Howe and Andy Howe and the other kid, Nixon. So they're the ones in charge. It's all been proven. Andy Howe's the one negotiating for Malik Chiao. He's been negotiating for 2 years. Barely got it over the line. We know that. So don't try to. They're the ones negotiating. So
yeah, but are they empowered to do the negotiation? That's the thing.
If they're negotiating, yeah. What do you mean?
Well, I just don't agree with that. I don't agree that they were empowered. I think they've had any negotiations. But we're going over old ground here. Any negotiations they had to do that to get the okay from PIF, and eventually what they did was send Rubens in to do the negotiating directly.
Nah,
that's when the job. That's when the transfer.
Yeah, but that's called assumption. But what we know from Ben Jacobs, for example, just one of them, that's worshipped as one of the gurus, transfer gurus, that he's the one that negotiated Malik Chiao. He was the one in Italy. He's the one in Milan negotiating. So they're the ones that were in charge. After Paul Mitchell were gone, they were in charge. So I don't understand why you had to just try to play it as if they didn't. And listen, to be fair, they got players in, didn't they? So they got players in. They managed to do it. But they also got to be held accountable for how it went.
Ross Wilson has a big ace in his pocket. I don't know if anyone knows the history of him as much as some people. But if I told you he was one of the people behind the deal that got Van Dijk to Southampton, that's someone you want to look into. And that's something he was involved with. He was also involved with Rangers when Steven Gerrard was there in some of their best recruitment they had under that club, and one of the most successful periods in their time since Andy McCoist was there. I think was so they had that term in form when he was there, and Nottingham Forest as well. They've made some pretty decent, I think some decent approaches in their time he's been there. with some of the players they brought in. I know they brought in a lot of players, but they worked, most of them. So this guy's got some clout behind him, especially, the one that stands out for me, I know, but I know you would say it's obvious, but Van Dijk wasn't someone that everyone was looking at, especially in the Southampton days. And this is someone who has seen that potential way back in those sort of times when Van Dijk hadn't broke out yet into in the English football. So this guy's got some aces in his pocket for definite that some people who haven't done a bit of research on him may not know.
Yeah.
Well, it's
but listen,
as well.
but
Sadio Mane, which
that's Paul Mitchell. But that's Paul Mitchell, by the way.
No, he was given the credit for it, but Ross Wilson was there as well.
Yeah. So, but who's the one that got him though? That's the one that should be the credit. Who's the one that saw the talent and bought the player?
I think part of the problem any director of football is going to have in Wynn's eyes as well is simply down to the fact that if they come in and the players that they bring in are rubbish, it's their fault. If the players come in and they're great, it's Eddie Howe that's short them players. So
yeah, I'll go along with all of that.
Yeah, he'll argue again both sides of the coin, saying if it's the good players that come in, it's down to Eddie Howe. If it's bad players, it's down to the director of football, whoever that may be.
Yeah. So Mason here did Wilson not buy money for Southampton? So that's another. But what Paul was mentioning, that's literally what I was asking earlier. I had no clue. I will admit I don't know. I know football. I don't know much of that. Who's director and all that. I asked what has. I mean, I know about a few obviously, but Ross Wilson, I didn't register him. So Paul let me know. Van Dijk is a good one. I mean, that's a very good one. Now, is Van Dijk the one you're gonna live on for a while? Then we can call you the Steve Bruce of DOFs. If we're gonna, because he's still living on I don't know what Steve Bruce has done in his career, but he's still living off something.
I don't think this is any credit. I just think that shows that shows the eye he has. And like I said, when he went to Rangers, like I said, they were in a time when Celtic were just dominating that league. It was ridiculous. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leagues in a row, and Rangers weren't even getting close. And Steven Gerrard was an unproven manager, and he went in there. I'm not saying it was just the team, but they picked some better players who really did make them better under Gerrard.
Yeah, no, but and interesting because here Sophie's saying you just got to give the guy a fair chance. I don't get this judging before he has done anything. I don't understand where the judging is. Somebody got signed for the club just yesterday, confirmed. So we are speaking on the signing. It's just the same as if we sign Joe Willock today for some reason, and he is knackered and he's all of this. We're gonna have to talk about the signing. So yeah, they can just become the greatest DOF in the history of football, and hopefully that happens. But we got to talk about what's happening. I'm not saying yay or nay. I'm just asking a simple question. What is his curriculum? What has he done? Paul, nicely, he's put out what some of his accomplishments have been. Mighty Wayne has not found one yet, other than talk bad about Paul Mitchell. All of a sudden, that makes Ross a great DOF. But let me get to Tim. Tim, you've been quiet about this situation. What do you make of Ross Wilson coming into the Toon?
It's not just about the signings itself. By the way, I'm okay audio wise.
Yeah, well, I mean, at this point,
right. So I think it's not just about, you look at the signings on paper. It's I think somebody mentioned as well. I think you all mentioned as well about how he interacts with everybody at the club and how he's a link between board and manager. And I think that's really important that we have somebody who is working without they're basically pulling in the same direction. And you want to have Eddie Howe to be challenged, but in the right way. And you look at Eddie, for example, at Nottingham Forest this season. By all accounts, he's came to Forest and upset the apple cart big time. And him and Nuno didn't get on. Do you know what I mean? And they've lost their manager. And so you've got to be really careful that the synergy at boardroom level and that trickles down to where the team is there. And hopefully Ross Wilson will bring. I mean, by all accounts, like somebody said in the comments, the agents apparently they wax lyrical about him because he's such a convincing person to talk to. He could negotiate and mediator, and that's a quality that you need to have.
Yeah. For some reason, you're echoing back again. I don't know why, man.
It sounds bad
Um,
of mine.
yeah, try come back again.
I'll come back
But
in.
yeah. By the way, look Edwards on this particular case of Russ Wilson. He's saying Newcastle are well aware the England job could be vacant again next summer. Well, that's not putting a lot of pressure or hope on. That's putting a lot of pressure and not so much hope on Tuchel, but neither here nor there. That could be vacant again for anyone, any big manager. That is why Eddie Howe has been given what he wants to oversee the long-term project. So very much, this article confirms from the Telegraph and Luke Edwards that Eddie Howe right now is the main guy. He is in charge of everything, even the cheeseburgers at halftime. If they're no good anymore when I go back, it's Eddie Howe's fault. So I want to know your simple, sensible, mature, objective opinion without being an evident and clear happy clapper, if you can, about the situation. Because, I mean, Eddie Howe has done really excellent for the club, no doubt about it. But now it seems like he is really the one in charge of everything. He oversees everything. Anybody that comes in, he clearly has the one that's going to say yes or no. I'm not sure how much that speaks on the DOF, because my question will be also to you for you guys to answer. Why do you need a DOF? Might as well just get a head of recruitment guy and just have that guy. Why do you have to pay
Let me
millions? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is that any better, by the way?
Yeah, actually
Yeah.
it is. Who would have
So, like,
known? Just restart. The old
Yeah.
fix in the book.
Switch it off and switch it on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I think the DOF, like I say, it's not just about or in some cases, it's not just about signing players. You know, it's different setups at different clubs. So, like, the DOF is there to be a link between manager and board. So, like, the manager doesn't have to bother running every little detail and kind of speaking to the board about every single process. The DOF can relay what the manager thinks and what he thinks, where the DOF has the perspective of the business side as well as the football side. So there's that balance in between the dugout and the boardroom. So that's where a DOF can come in and play a vital role, as well as setting up all the processes around the academy, and going up to the reserves, etc., training ground planning and stuff like that. So there is that aspect that is important. And in terms of signing players, I mean, I think with Eddie Howe, I've got gripes with Eddie Howe in terms of certain selections and stuff like that. But I think on the face of it, I think he's quite a special manager, and he's achieved some special things with us. So, like, I think he himself is a manager who, I think, looking in from the outside, is very much, he's not ego driven. I think he looks at it from a process point of view, that what can get the best out of what he has available and what can drive the club forward. I don't think he's a manager who's wanting to take shortcuts and wanting to do things based off hunches or egos. So I think, can you trust Eddie Howe in terms of having the final say, for example? Well, I think he's not the only manager who would have final say. I know obviously that article kind of was talking about, well, he's kind of like 1 in a million type thing, but to me, that's nothing extraordinary when the manager himself, whose job is on the line if things go wrong, when that manager is in the dressing room, who has to deal with characters and can spot characters. To me, there's nothing crazy about that person wanting to have like the final say. That's not to say that he shouldn't be challenged. He should be. And I think that's where Paul Mitchell went wrong, where he did it in the wrong way. I do want Eddie Howe to be challenged, and I want, for example, Park Sue. Is it Park Sue? I forgot it, but the
Park
they were
Sue-Sung.
brought in, right? Yeah. I would like maybe somebody to challenge him on that player to say, look, Eddie, I think Gary's mentioned this. We need to be bringing through youth maybe a bit more often. Can you get him in the first team? You know, can you give him a few more chances? What do you think? Do you know what I mean? Like bounce a few things off that way. So it needs to happen. And people have mentioned the South American market. You know, can Eddie have a bit more faith in players adapting to the Premier League? You know, I agree with all of that. And by all accounts, Ross Wilson has got a good track record with South America. So hopefully he is challenged in that way. We'll see. You know.
Yeah.
So, like I think Sophie said, we'll see. You know, come in a year's time or 2 years' time. You know, I can see both sides around. You know, we don't want a manager to have like run everything, but at the same time, you've got to be careful because we have a manager there who's doing a really good job. And if that manager goes, you can have the best DOF in the world, but if the manager in the dugout's crap, then things can go apart very easily.
You're not good.
Yeah, I think one of the things you said there, Tim, which I wholeheartedly agree with, is the one thing you can say about Eddie is that he is not ego-driven.
No.
Like some managers, you know.
Everybody's got an ego, man. Everybody's got an ego.
That's not what gives him his buzz.
Yeah, well, that's fine. But
he's not a Mourinho or a,
you have
or even a Postecoglou.
Well, but everybody's got an ego though. That might not be. You here have celebrated how he went to Yasser Al-Rumayyan and told him it's either me or Mitchell. So that's egotistic right there.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's egotistical. Like that's just telling it like it is.
Okay.
I think you made a good point before, Chris, in regards to if Eddie does get the England job, or as Wynne said, if he isn't 3 points within Champions League by Christmas and gets sacked, the whole club's built around Eddie Howe, so every department's got his choice in each place. It causes massive issues if he leaves the club.
Yeah.
Because do them guys stay, or if they all start going, or will they work with the new manager? Whereas if you've got the top structure in place, and they're basically there no matter who's manager, they're there to manage the club. That's a good structure to have. I think having a person like a manager choosing those positions and going upwards is a major issue if he does leave the club. And Connors came in with a good point there on Ross Wilson in that he's more of a deal maker. Connors were roving sort of fact finder. Connors came in saying he's more of a deal maker. He's not really someone to go out and scout and pick players. So he's used to having a scouting team that will go out and pick the players for him, and he'll go in and make the deals.
That sounds ideal to me.
Well, if he's gonna be the boss, which technically he should be, he should.
Well,
Yeah, he
he's
should have
empowered
people.
to make the deals.
He should have people to be under him to recruit, and of course.
What I'm saying is, there's nothing the matter with the scouting system.
Well,
But I think there should be, like, regardless who's in the dugout, I just think like there should be good plans in place anyway. And I think with Eddie Howe, say for example, having the final say on players, that shouldn't necessarily scupper any good foundations that are in place at the club for any manager that comes in after him. Do you know what I mean? I kind of trust that because you've got that Suds, haven't you, who came in as well, the data man. So he's got a role to play.
Yeah.
So like if all of them are joined up, and you've got all that information, and you've got that database, how you use that database, yes, maybe is kind of directed by the manager in terms of who he wants in the first team. But if a new manager comes in and wants to use the foundations and use that database in a different way, I would like to think, the foundations are there. I get what you're saying, Boggy. I get it. And there are clubs out there where it is very much, like a specific system in place where players are signed based on other elements, and the manager is a conveyor belt. I get that as well, but I just think we're in a situation where we already have a manager who's brought us some success. So I think we shouldn't be ripping that up, and we should be having the right platform in place behind the scenes to accommodate that manager, but also that can accommodate future managers who might want to use those foundations in their own way when they come in, inevitably.
The one thing you can give Mitchell credit for is bringing Bunce in, and that he's having no problem at all working with Bunce. And Bunce appears to be doing his job brilliantly. If you look at the injuries we've had
When
of late.
did Eddie have a problem working with Mitchell?
I think you undoubtedly had a problem with Mitchell.
But this is a guy with no ego whatsoever. So what was his problem working with Mitchell?
But this is what I mean. I
Because
think, but by
Mitchell
all
did have an
accounts,
ego that Eddie didn't
yeah,
like.
I think from what I can read, right, and like obviously everyone's got an ego. Like, yes, what I mean is like, is that ego going to get in the way, and disrupt things? Do you know what I mean? That and I don't think it would with Eddie Howe. I think yes, Mitchell came in and there was a clash,
Yeah.
and I'm just reading between the lines. But by all accounts, if a DOF comes in and says to Eddie Howe and says to the players, this is how we're going to go about things, and is bringing a tactics board up and is talking about this position, that position, like a bull in a china shop. Like any manager, I think, is going to be taken back a bit by that.
No, but what he can do is I play like this. I need a right winger that can cross the ball. I don't need him to score. Just an example, like a Murphy. I don't need him to score. I need somebody that can cross, because that's how I play. The DOF needs to come up with a list of 5 top possible recruits of players like that Eddie Howe wants, and they should talk about it, and they should come into an agreement that not that he's going to impose a player or tell Eddie Howe how to play. Although I will give you a clear example of Barcelona, for example, you're not going to change the way they play. They play passing the ball, possession style, and that's how the club history is. If they won't, first of all, they won't get a manager that doesn't play like that. They won't get a Mourinho, for example, right? So, but there are clubs that have that type of standard. Now, but in this particular case, if Eddie Howe wants it, then you bring in the top 5 players that Newcastle United can possibly go get, and then you talk about what is wrong with that. Why does it have to be? Because football is a brutal sport, Tim. And I do worry at times that we, like Boki said, if you 100% build a team around, look at what happened with Man United and Ferguson. They still can't recover. They still can't recover. And so you do that, and then when he's gone, then what happens?
Well, on that point, though, Chris, I get it. But on that point, one of the reasons they haven't recovered is because they find it damn hard to appoint the right manager, which comes back to my point as to how difficult it is to land on the right manager at times, and how important it is to have the right man in the dugout. So when you have the right man in the dugout, you've got to be careful not to just throw him away. And I think with what you're saying, I agree with that, Chris. But I don't think that's necessarily, what Mitchell was doing. He wasn't having this sit down with Eddie Howe. He came in, and then all of a sudden, the club are announcing, this is what the crack is, without even telling Eddie Howe and without having conversations with Eddie Howe. So like, and Mitchell's going around speaking to the players himself, saying about this is what's going to happen, that's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? To me, the collaboration didn't seem to be there. That's what I'm saying. So like, anybody would get upset at that, where Eddie Howe's like, well, first of all, I'd like to be informed as to what the structure is. Just tell us, like the CEO. And second of all, I'd like to collaborate here.
And as unfortunate as it is, he's also in this brutal sport. When you lose, the manager gets sacked. But no matter what he's done right, in most cases. But when you win, no matter if you do wrong or many times, people forget. That's why that's part of the formula why win is so hypnotized, and some fans are hypnotized, is because you win one game and it's unbelievable. That's it.
The good news, Chris, is that obviously the board, their thought process is they want to keep Eddie Howe for the next 10 years. That is honestly what their thought process is. This is why the new contracts are being forced through. Bruno is going to be offered a brand new contract, or has been offered a new contract. All the big hitters are going to be offered these new contracts early, because they're trying to convince Eddie Howe to stay for a long period of time. Because they know that England might come up, it might not come up, who knows. They know that other teams are faltering, like Man United. Yes, they beat Sunderland, but whatever. But they are inevitably going to go for another losing streak and maybe sack a manager. And again, it's another club looking for a manager, who potentially is, going to be on the market, because they can buy whoever they want if they want to. But the structure is to keep Eddie Howe, Sir Alex Ferguson, length of time. That is definitely what they want. They want to have a consistent manager for years, so you build a team that's based off one ethos. That's the ownership model since they've hired Eddie Howe has been that way. It would take a lot for him to be sacked. There's another thing I know for a fact.
I mean, one thing I'd just say is that, like, kind of just reiterate what I said before, in that I do want to see Eddie Howe challenged. I do want to see that. And I said about Gordon before, I'd like to see, you know, for example, the DOF to be putting these things to Eddie Howe. And obviously, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. These things might well happen anyway. But, you know, Anthony Gordon, as a manager, Eddie Howe might not want to sell him. But I would like Eddie Howe to take a step back and go, well, you know what? While I believe in him, maybe he's not improving at the rate I want him to improve. He's still valued at 70, 80 million. If I could get that money in and use that money, then I want to bite the bullet and sell him and trade better. I want Eddie Howe to, you know, in the club to trade better in general that way. So I'm not sitting here saying, you know, like, just Eddie Howe writes the checks and balances and that, you know what I mean? That's it. And he's not accountable. Obviously he's accountable. And I've got my own bugbears and stuff, but I just think that there's a balance to the whole kind of outlook on this structure, if you like.
I mean, we've all got our bugbears with him.
I think one thing with Wilson is just to see as well. I mean, we've all got. Well, I'm sorry, I've got potential issues around his appointment, but he hasn't been in post for any time at all. I think we've got to give him a little bit of time to show what he can do. And if he's the right appointment, and if he brings in some brilliant players that are unknown, then let's hope he goes to different markets. Let's hope he looks at the South American market. He looks at all different markets other than just European leagues. And if he does things like that, then I'll be the first to hold my hands up and say, "Oh no, he was a right appointment." But at this point, it just feels like another Eddie man in the club's the only issue I've got.
I'm just going to let it go. I'm not going to pay it. You're muted, Chris.
He's not. Can he? I can hear him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit of funny. Don't know, mate.
Hear him?
Yeah.
We can hear you. Yeah.
It's a bit weird, yeah. So, he's gone again. Just to answer that chap, he asked the question of how I know something for a fact. Anyone who knows me for longer than 10 or 1 years, you know, I'm not pretending to be one of these idiots who pretends to know everything about Newcastle ever, because I don't like those people, because they spout rubbish for clicks. But I do generally have contacts. I know how it sounds, but it's genuine. Chris and I can back me up on those for a fact. Again, so it's not. I'm not trying to be that person, because I hate those sorts of people. But yeah, I do have some people who work within the club, and just they're very honest. They're honest about how they love Eddie. It's no secret how much they love Eddie Howe. They all the management upwards. And this is someone who sits with the directors frequently. So it's not, you know, I hate those people who are like, oh, I know what's going on in the club, because they're really annoying, those types of people. But I do generally have just true friends and stuff that worked in the club for a long time. The carrier stuff, you know, was from the same people and all that, you know, all of that. So yeah, just, you know, it's not like an in and no. I hate those people. Yeah.
I can hear you, Chris.
I can hear you.
Everybody can hear you except me. I'll go out and come in here.
But I don't know if the viewers could hear you, Chris.
Let me see if. Let me know. Do you hear me now, Tim? No. I mean, sorry,
Yeah.
Paul.
I can hear you. It's not that I can't hear you. It's just you sound like you're like back of a train.
Sophie's saying that she
No, you
can't.
can't hear me. Yeah, just keep going at it. I'm gonna try to get started.
Yeah. Oh, off complete subject. To Matty, if you're watching,
Chris,
congratulations
you're muted on YouTube.
on a child. My good friend, good man.
Oh, he's having a kid.
Matty from the Magpie channel. Congratulations.
There you go.
How's that on the baby?
Yeah, bless him. Yeah.
Talk about Tonali and his new contract and the Juventus thing.
Oh, what he's going to go for 50 million? Yeah. He actually liked, I think it was Magpie Media, to give him a shout out. Magpie Media put a thing up about how it's rubbish and nonsense, and Tonali, funny enough, liked their post. So I think that puts that to bed, that nonsense from there. It's just, again, it's the Italian media. As soon as he joined us, he was going straight back to Italy within like a year, or as soon as his ban was over. It's the same thing with Automata. It's just a sour grapes of him coming to England. They're not happy about it. You know, we all said when he signed for us for the fee he did, me and Wynn and Chris had this debate at the time. I remember word for word, and we were like, "Did they know? Did they know something was up?" And we were convinced they probably did know. Hence why we got him for such a decent price for how good of a player he is. But again, you can tell the support he got from the club, the support he got from the fans when he was taken off with Trippier and stuff, with his arm around him, and the players and the people in the crowd just really giving him that applause. It meant something to him. It really did. And he said he owes Newcastle something. And the problem is they go away and they say things on these international tours that get completely blown out of context. The thing that was blown out of context is Tonali says, "I don't know what happens in the future," which is true. You don't know. He said, "Yes, one day, I might end up in Italy again. One day, not today, one day." But he said right now, his goal is with Newcastle. He's in a really good place with us. He knows he's playing well, and he's enjoying his football at Newcastle, and he thinks he still owes us. So again, it's just this whole media bias of like, oh, he has to go back to Italy because he, whatever. It's rubbish.
Do you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So it looks like there's a post by Magpie Media 24, Magpie 24/7 that said I don't know where they got it from, but they said Juventus plan to bid for Newcastle United's midfielder Tonali with an swap offer of 50 million euros, 43 million pounds, and the Dutch midfielder Toon Miners, wherever that is. According to the Juve Live, there you go. This comes out after rumors of an exit, where silence, obviously. Well, I mean, they weren't silenced per se by him, but he liked the post, so that means he's corroborating what this account said, so that he wasn't going anywhere. But I mean, this is a joke of a of a thing. I mean, a swap deal. First of all, you're not going to swap for Tonali, and this kid that's supposed to be whoever, this Dutch midfielder I never heard of. I mean,
You've never
heard? I've
never
never heard of.
Really?
No, this Dutch guy, Toon Miners. I never heard of him.
You never heard? Okay, fair enough.
I think part of the problem is with Tonali and all internationals that go away, when they go back to their own country, he's an Italian international, and he will want to go back to Italy at some point. He's never going to go to if a media company asks him a question, do you want to come back to Italy? He's never going to go, oh no, I bloody hate the country, there's no chance I'm coming back here. He's always going to say, sorry, I swore there a little bit, didn't I? But anyway, he's always going to say, yes, of course, I want to come back to Italy at some point. It's my home country. I loved playing in Italy. Just as if an English player went to Italy and was the other way around, you'd expect them to, if you were an England fan, you'd expect them to say exactly the same thing. But all he's doing is doing what the press training teaches you, is don't answer the question fully, but don't turn around and say, oh no, I love Newcastle, I'm never leaving there. Give an answer that you love your country, and yes, of course, at some point you'd love to play back in Italy. I think that's the thing now with international football and the way people speak is they're so press trained that they'll always give such a diplomatic answer that you can read it any way you want.
Yeah. That's it. And what I would ask is, we need to give him a new contract ASAP. Would you have a release clause in there?
I think he's the man one.
I think you would need to. Yeah, but so that's an interesting question. Let's talk about that, right? But I want to now post another question on top of that's bad journalism, by the way. If you're trying to be a journalist, when you ask a question, you let people answer that question. You don't answer two questions in one because they choose the easiest question to get away with. Win, learn something. You learn something every day, Win. There you go.
Well, we choose to answer neither of them, Chris, so that's fine.
But you got one. But win earlier today, he gives me content. This guy, really. That's why I think he's trolling at times. But he said earlier that he wouldn't give Tonali 250. That he would do incentives. That Tonali has to earn his salary. Whatever incentives. I don't know. In order to get paid. But that means he's not going to sign a contract. I mean, a player like him, clearly, has to have his money guaranteed, and then he's going to be the best, like he is. But what do you guys make of this incentive nonsense that Win brought up earlier today, I think, or the other day? What do you guys make of that? Or you want to double that first, Win? Let them hear it from you, man.
What I'm saying is, if I had my way, I would pay every player 20 grand a week and 50 grand, and 50 grand a point.
He tripled down, not doubled down.
If I had my way, that way you get a bit commitment on the pitch.
Yeah.
But as you rightly say, you're not going to get players to sign back. All I'm saying is, with Newcastle's current financial situation, can we afford to pay him what he undoubtedly is worth? You ask the question, would I pay him? Damn right I would. It's not my money.
No, but you're gonna say what you said also is that, well, what if another player comes and says, well, I want to get more money now? But and my answer was simple. It's just like any job out there. Some people are better at your job than others. So why do you
agreed with that?
No, you didn't, man. You're all about incentives and all that nonsense. So let me get on to the folks. Paul, what do you think of that?
What the incentive stuff?
Yeah, the incentives. Well, no, look. Give them 180, and then the rest in incentives later on down the line.
No, because this is where you messed around. I can't swear, so this is where you mess around when you find out. Exactly. Don't do that. Don't do that. This is maybe why we're bringing in more of a structure, because we need to start acting like, if we want to be in the elite club one day, finish in Champions League more often, do all that sort of stuff. I know we've got to build anything new. I know we hate those three words that we keep saying over and over and over again, PSR, PSR, blah, blah, blah. I know we're all sick and tired of hearing about it. But you have to start playing like the others. Obviously, you're never gonna get there. Because every time you offer a player a bit less than one of the other clubs, they'll just come with more money and just keep going above. I'm not saying if we offer just underneath it or just close enough to it, I think that for now that's enough. Like, yes, they could say like, oh, we're going to give you another 20 grand, and yes, I know that's very attractive, but if they buy into the project that we think they do, again, I know players will always talk up a club when they're playing there, but I think to some players it means more to them. Like Bruno, you ask Bruno, he bleeds black and white. He really does. Man City approached him in the summer and he wasn't interested. And most players probably would have taken that conversation because Man City are, a club that's ahead of us at the moment. Of course they are. So you have to keep that in mind that, clubs are always increasing, especially those clubs that are always going to be protected by revenues that are going to be crazy enough for no matter until they fix the rule. We're always going to be catching up. But I've always thought that if they buy into the club, they buy into the manager, and we can say to them, like, look, we know we're not offering you what Man City would. We know we're not offering what Arsenal would, but we're going to get as close as we can for now. I believe there's some players that will at least understand that and think and at least see the fact we're trying to do that structure. We're We're trying we're saying to them, like, look, this is it for now. But when we get that more, bigger revenue increase and all that sort of stuff, and more regular in the Champions League, we can get bigger and bigger and bigger with those contracts. But you have to have the players that obviously dig into that, because I know some players like Isak only care. They are mercenaries. Some of them do just care about money, and that's it.
Well, I wouldn't mess around with Tonali. I would certainly do 250. This is the top. This is what our best player right now can get paid, the maximum, and you're the best player, so you're getting this, and everybody else follows suit below that. I think, if we came right now with Champions League visa advertisement now, and know that we can't play a player 250 a week, then I think we have bigger issues than we think. So, Tim, what do you make of Tonali? And the Juve thing might be BS, but at the end of the day, mate, we got to get this man locked up. Got to get that's when you ugly, and you see that one lass that for some reason likes you, maybe because you're funny or something, man, you better lock her down, man, because the Prince Charming will come around and take her away. So, what do you think?
I agree. I agree. We need to get them locked down. I do think. I mean, I agree what you're saying as well, Paul, about acting like an elite club. Yes, but at the same time, if ultimately we don't have the revenue of those other clubs, we still have to be a bit careful. And I don't blame the club for negotiating. I think we have to negotiate, try and get some kind of compromise in place here or there. Because if we just throw money at the wall, even though he is, blatantly a top class player, it still could create problems down the line. Because, like, for example, Sven Botman, he is potentially elite. So he would then come knocking and say, "Well, yeah, different position, but I'm right up there. I want nigh on the same." And quite rightly. Say again.
But he's not now. So I mean, we have to see that when he
Yeah, but
becomes one.
he's not now. But I can envisage him this season if he keeps this up. You know what I mean? He would be blatantly one of the best centre backs in the Premier League, right up there. And all of a sudden, you've got eyes on him from elsewhere. But yeah, that's true. So I just think, financially, we have to work with what we have. And again, this goes back to trading better as well. Perhaps we can dish out some of these contracts better or easier if we do sell better and get revenue that way as well. So yeah, we need to get them tied down. But I think some kind of creativeness in terms of the contract isn't something that I would, be kind of annoyed at to at least explore, because we have to work within the framework that we have. And it's not the same framework that these other clubs do have. I think, to be fair, that's where the release clause could well come in, where that is a bit of a compromise. To say, look, if a club comes in and you want to go there and they can offer more than us, okay, but they're going to have to pay X amount.
Interesting. Good take there. Boki, Tonali, we got to lock him down, man. What do you make of Mighty Wynn's incentive policy?
I don't completely disagree with what Wynn said about an incentive policy, but I think he's got it completely the wrong way around as usual. I think what you say to him is, yes, we'll give you a basic wage of £250,000 a week, but then if we get Champions League that season, you get X amount more. If we win a trophy that season, you get X amount more. If we finish, as higher up in the Premier League, so give each position an incentive for him to get that as well. So yes, incentivize him, but incentivize him the other way. Don't incentivize him saying, "We'll give you £250,000, but you've got to do this, this, and this." Say to him, "We'll give you £250,000 a week, but we'll give you extras if we achieve this and this and this." I don't think it's right to incentivize somebody to boost the salary up to where it should be. I do think it's right to boost the salary up if we're overachieving in some areas and we can pay them a bit extra for that. So yes, incentivize players, but incentivize them on the right basic salary. Don't incentivize them to get to that right basic salary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you're muted, man. Lord have mercy, man.
That might be a good thing, because I think he's ranting at me.
You're muted, Win. He just looks at you like you're supposed to unmute him. Okay. Go on.
Well, you must have muted us.
No, I didn't.
I'm saying that's fine. What Boki's saying, I agree with wholeheartedly, provided you can actually afford to pay the high basic salary that you're talking about starting with, and then to pay him more. Because if you were saying Tonali right now is worth 300 grand a week, I'm not going to argue with you. But what I'm saying is we cannot afford to pay 300 grand a week.
One player.
Oh, but again, then you get into the splits in the dressing room.
Why? Why do you have to get into that?
The reason why, Chris, is because agents will then be onto the club.
True, but there's not a single player out there that's worth 250,000 a week other than Tonali. I'm just going 250 by the way.
I think anybody could stack Bruno's achievements up with Tonali's and say that he is.
It actually took Tonali less to get us over the line, and Bruno a little longer. So you can do 200 with Bruno. That's fine.
Chris, when you've got people like, I know Chelsea have a pot of money that just seems to never end, but when you've got players like Garnacho signing for the crazy money that he's on per week, annoyingly, I know we have a good dressing room, we do, which is great, but annoyingly, you can't help that if it is the agent, whoever, going, hey, did you know that this player who's got nowhere near the numbers you have is on this much money and you're not? And that's annoying, because that's what I think someone did. That's what I think Isak's agent did. He was just like, hey, you're one of the best strikers in the Premier League. You're not earning the same as Ekatike when he's gone there. What's all that about? How come you're not earning what he's earning? That little worm in the head that gets kind of some people.
Yeah, but we're always going to lose that battle, though, man. For now, at least. So
that's what I'm saying. That's the problem that you need.
So no matter what we do, I mean,
Chris, because I think sometimes some players, I'm not saying all players, some players don't care about the money. I know this isn't rare, that's rare, but you do find players that do actually love the club and will go for it. If we offer them something higher, they'd rather stay with us and go anywhere else. So I'm not saying every player we're ever going to have this like that, but there are certainly players with that mentality that they want to build something at the club they're at. And if they can see it going a certain way going forward, it does. Yeah, Garnacho's on 90 grand a week. That's for Garnacho. Come on, that's overpriced. It just is.
Paul, do you think that's becoming a little bit of a thing about the past now as well? That I completely agree with that. Players would stay at clubs because they had a feeling for them or things like that. But now it's such a multi-million-pound business, and they can make so much money out of their clubs.
Yeah.
Sort of, has that sort of edge side of sort of you want to play for a certain club going out of it, and it is just simply now, Jesus Christ, how much are they going to pay us? I think a big example of that's being players going to the Far East. I doubt any of those players particularly wanted to do that with their careers, but the money was for so much that anybody would do it. You would have to be mad not to.
I think what I would say is like, with that kind of battle that we're always going to have, and that battle we're going to be wary of with agents in the years, which would definitely kind of increase if there was a massive discrepancy between players' wages. At the same time, I do think that is one of the kind of beauties of Eddie Howe, where by all accounts he has the players like fully on board, and you've got players like Bruno who are just totally committed and are all in. And I think that kind of family feel, if you like, contributes towards that. So I think that's just one aspect I would kind of give a tick to in terms of Eddie Howe, really.
I think one other thing we have to look at as well is how, in regards to paying these players more wages, is getting rid of some of the older players and the players that he tends to cling on to for too long. Because that frees up money as well for wages. So we got off at £4 million for Lascelles. If we took that, we'd have got that plus his wages for this season. Why we're playing Brad Friedel for still being here, I think sometimes he needs to cut his losses with players. Say players have been great servants for the club, but at this point it's time for you to move on. And then instead of having them players who never play for, when he had the same with Richie, Dummett, you can go back over his career with this. He tends to want to keep older players who are on quite high wages. And instead of doing that, why not use that money to pay the players that we've got who will want to be the future that little bit more wages?
I get that. Honestly, I get it. I mean, I would just say, like, looking in from the outside, like, if Eddie Howe thinks that those players, I mean, I don't agree with all, the examples you gave in terms of like what I would do personally, but if he would say that Lascelles, for example, that his influence it is massive behind the scenes, and he is a brilliant leader, and he actually helps that togetherness and helps the discipline and sets the right example for younger players as well, and that can gain you those extra few points. I translate into extra few points. I kind of just think, who might argue against that? But I mean, but I do know what you're saying, Borg. And what I would say is, like, I think we dropped the ball with Gordon. I don't want to repeat myself a million times about Gordon, but I think we seem to just go steamroll in there and give him this contract where, for me, you know, he didn't earn that hike. Yes, maybe an improved contract, but not to that extent. And so it's proved, in my opinion, in the following season, in this season, where his standards have dropped. So that's maybe one example I would say where we need to just get the brakes on a bit and see how it played out.
Now, come back on that would be, Tim, though, that why the hell are we having to have players motivate other players and motivate younger players and tell them what to do? That's what you've got a manager for, and that's what you've got a coaching team. If he's saying themselves is really good at that and brilliant at it, then great. But drop him from being a player and make him into a coach. You know,
that's true. But then he did play against PSG when 1-4-1. Do you know what I mean? Like, he contributed towards that game. You know, it's like he still came on the pitch and actually played his part as well when called upon. I get what you're saying. I get it. But
I mean, we're going to disagree on this one. But I think you can give example of any players. But how many games did he play last season? How many we're expecting to play this season? We could have took that cash for him, got rid of that. He's not on a small wage either. Got that wage off the books, and then straight away, as I say, you're starting to build up a pot for other players to get a wage. As I say, if you keep players of that ilk who are not going to play first team football, then you're wasting a wage. Basically, you've got wages being wasted all over the pitch.
Well, the same thing could be said about Rudy as well.
Bear in mind, last season he was injured. That's the first thing, and also bear in mind, last season we didn't have Chow. So last season we had an injured Botman.
Maybe.
When your argument may say the point then now, because you've got Chow now, so you don't need Lascelles.
But let's be honest.
I agree with you. We don't need Lascelles now.
Here's a theoretical, guys. Next season, when we start the season, do you really, honestly, because we know Eddie Howe, is Lascelles gone next season or not?
Absolutely.
We know Eddie Howe.
Yeah.
You think so?
I think he's gone.
I still would have thought. I'd still be. I mean, I know what you mean. Maybe he still wants to keep him, but I kind of expect him to go personally.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be shocked if Lascelles is still here at the end of this. You know, at the start of next season.
We shall see.
I think
we do need to bring in the. I'd like Eddie Howe, like I said earlier at the start of the show, like to kind of allow the younger players to have a bit more experience here and there, even if it's on the bench, to come on now and again. And I think I would kind of say that, you know, I can see Eddie Howe's point of view in terms of keeping some of these players, but I would balance that with, like, I can also see where you don't want to block the route of younger players that we've got there in the reserves.
Well, I would rather have Murphy on the bench than Lascelles right now. Whilst we've got 4 fit centre-backs, but how long's that going to last with Mr. Botman? We don't know. And as long as we've got 4 fit centre-backs, then I would rather have Murphy on the bench than Lascelles, certainly.
When who are 4 fit centre-backs?
Burn, Botman, Chow and Shearer.
Burns a left-back? You've been selling him in that position all season.
There you go, man. There you go. We ain't got nothing to say about that. Shots fired. There you go. Shots fired. He's down. Anyway, Win, just don't say nothing, man. It is what it is. You take that L. Take that L, man. By the way, I woke up and I was like, what happened with the world? Because everybody was talking about Gascoigne on TalkSport, talking about his, obviously about him and his life, I guess. And everybody was so excited for it. I mean, Newcastle fans that I've talked to, most of them, you know, they kind of give him the cold shoulder anyway, because he I don't think he wanted to leave Newcastle, or did he? But we sold him because we needed the money, didn't we not?
We didn't need the money, but we had directors at the time who wanted the money.
So, but yeah, so they gave him the cold shoulder. Every time we talk about greatest of all time, he certainly was one of the greatest footballers at the time. So I would claim him, if I was a Geordie, as a Newcastle great, simply because he was one of the greatest footballers of all time. At the time, really, he was he not? I mean, he was on a level that unheard of, really. And
I would argue at one stage he was the best player in the world.
And he was a Geordie. And we've done shows and many times, and he's been given the cold shoulder many times with Newcastle fans. So, and win included. So now all of a sudden he gets on TalkSport, and it's, oh my God, I can't believe. My goodness, man. What would happen if Alan Shearer goes to TalkSport?
It's just notorious now, isn't he? It's not really anything. It's to do with Paul Gascoigne, the personality now, as opposed to Paul Gascoigne, the footballer.
Well, he is as crazy as a bat. We know that.
Stories he tells and.
Well, we got a story. We do got a story for you today. When he could have joined Man United, but he went to Tottenham, and let's take a listen at this story. It's a wonderful story.
Guys, I take up the story because the story goes that you promised Sir Alex that you would sign for him in Manchester United, right? What happened?
Well, just when I started, I was fearless of anyone. I wasn't giving it who I played against. I wasn't bothered. I wasn't worried, what team it was, and didn't realise how good these three were, really. I knew how good Brian Robson was, but I just had a row. I nutmegged Remy Moses in front of the dugout, and he was going off at Remy because I took the big out, but he come up to us, and he was only So I put my hand on top of his head. Look, where's he? And I went, oh, there you are. And obviously he went off it. And then obviously after the game, and he rang up the house, and I went, Dad's Alex Ferguson, and I spoke to him. He says, look, I want you to sign for Rangers. So I went, yeah, okay.
You want to sign for United?
Sorry, for Man United. So I went, yeah, definitely. I really want to sign for you. I'll definitely sign. He said, well, I'm going on holiday. When I get back, will you be at Old Trafford? I went, yeah, definitely. So, okay, I'll see you at Old Trafford. Cheers. So, for 2 days, I'm like, Dad, Man United, I'm going to Man United. He's like, good on you, son. And then the phone goes, Servant Scholar. So I went, Dad, Servant Scholar, Tottenham. He went, no, tell me you're going to Man United. I went, my dad said I'm going to Man United. He went, well, tell your dad, if you sign for Spurs, I'll give him 120 grand. So I went, Dad, if I sign for Spurs, he's going to give you 120 grand. My dad went, what the F are you waiting for then, son? Get it signed.
Oh.
So then I get close to Tottenham, and about 100 yards away, I passed Old Trafford, and I'm shaking. And I get 100 yards from the ground, and the phone goes again. It's my sister. What do you want? Well, if Mum's getting a house and my dad's getting a car, I want a sunbed. So I says, I'll definitely say that we buy my sister a sunbed. So he bought my sister a sunbed. It blew the house up. The bulbs were more powerful than the sunbed there was in the house.
Do you look at that time, Paul? Do you think, we all have sliding doors moments, do you look at your career and think the direction of travel that you'd have gone on? You went to play for Venables at Spurs, who you had a great relationship with, right? When you look at Ferguson, you look at the Man United side, and you look at the build that was coming, do you look at it and go, my career, my culture around me, you might have avoided the London set, because I don't think that the Danny Bakers, and with all due respect to Chris, helped you in your career. Do you think that going to United might have been a different direction for you?
Finished higher than Man United, not realising like the Becks and the scores coming through the next season, because the next season they won the league after that. They were flying and buzzing, And I'm thinking, I look back and think if it wasn't Terry Venables, because I remember when I played against Spurs, I scored a couple. The first 3 games were Liverpool man of match, Man United man of match, and 2 against Spurs and that. And I'm walking off, and I was sponsored by Hummel. Remember, my contract was $3,000 a year for wearing the boots. But Tottenham had Hummel as well. Terry Venables passed it, well, at least you've got the right boots on. And I looked and didn't realise what he meant. But he just said, if you sign for me, I'll be playing for England within 10 games. And I really want to play for England. But at that time, they had Brian Robson and Neil Webb playing for
United.
Yeah. And God bless Neil Webb. He doesn't know this, but like two of them always play together with England. And I'm like, I'm never going to give you. And like, I'm probably the only happiest man in the country at the time when Neil Webb got injured against Sweden, did his Achilles. I was like, oh, never mind. But inside, I was like, yes.
Well, Gaza, man, he's aged like milk, hasn't he? With all due respect. What did we say about that? I mean, what do you guys make of Gaza, man? It's a interesting character.
He's what do you say? He's a lost cause, bless him. I mean,
he's proper nagging, man.
He is knackered. And,
Do you think it's changed his lifestyle, or do you think it's ongoing?
No,
You can't change. You can't.
I don't think he'll ever be back to perfect health, shall we
Well,
say.
I mean, living a hard life has look at you. You can look at you, and living a hard life has its consequences, mate. And
that's dead right, yeah.
And you can tell Gaza.
I don't think I've indulged the way Gaza's indulged over
there. No, you look like a 13-year-old, man, compared to Gaza. But well, what do you guys make? I mean, Tim, Bogey, quiet. You didn't find Gaza funny?
Well, I mean, obviously, it's like it's a checkered history. Let's just put it that way. So it's I don't want to kind of. It's hard to know what to say because there's a lot of things that happened with Gaza by all accounts in the past, and obviously he's had his demons with the drink. And I just think if he'd signed for Man United, then, like Simon Jordan says, I think that probably was a sliding doors moment in that I could have imagined Ferguson, if anybody was going to get hold of him and get him settled, then it would have been Ferguson. Yeah. So it would have been interesting to see how he would have actually went on if he'd signed for Man U. Maybe, maybe not, but maybe he could have actually settled down a bit and had the right support around him at Man United to actually kind of get himself on the right track and let the football do the talk, and that would have been interesting. But
well, of course, the right great before Sir Alex was Matt Busby, obviously. And he couldn't manage it with George Best. So,
true.
But George, I mean, George was...
Two very similar tragic cases for me. George Best, never fulfilled the promise that we got some great years out of him, but, it should have went on a lot longer.
Remember, not only remember we did a show on Jackie Milburn, and when he was older, he was speaking about Gaza. Remember when he was saying something about?
I mean,
they kept telling
when Gaza was a young one, he was special, man. He was special. There's no doubt about that. Yeah, but put it this way: when £2 million was £2 million. He got £2 million for an 18-year-old.
And what part of Newcastle is he from?
Gateshead.
Dunstan, actually.
Gateshead, yeah.
And but so you're telling me that let's do this. Let's talk about this. We got minutes left. If Gaza goes to Newcastle right now, would he be? Well, first of all, I would assume he'd be recognized.
Oh God, he'd be mobbed.
But do you think so?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it.
To be fair,
Tim's not bothered, by the way.
That's actually looking a lot better than he has over the last few seasons. Last few years. He actually looked a bit healthier there because he has been really gaunt and looking, but he did look a bit more full-faced there. So
hold on, let me hold on, man. Tim is not saying he wants to say stuff, but he's holding back. I want to
No, I agree with Borty. Like, he is in that. That's the first time I've seen the video itself. I've seen the headlines and stuff, but I think he is looking a bit better there than times where we've seen him. And like when you look back at when he was kind of on the verge of retirement, I remember watching this documentary where he went to China, and that was like you could see he was in a bad place then. And I think it was China. It was somewhere. That part of the world, and when you compare that, you could see he was like a really unhappy man, and he had the demons, and whereas at least now he's maybe you can see he's kind of confronting the demons a bit, and he's maybe a bit more.
Does he? Well, he's also getting older, by the way. But obviously, you got it. That's one thing about when you live a hard life, you cannot hide from those receipts. They will be there for a while, if not ever. But if he were to go to, you're saying that he would be mobbed if he goes to Newcastle. But does he? First of all, I haven't never heard of Gaza going back to Newcastle. Like, you always hear about Alan Shearer is here, or Alan Shearer couldn't make it because he was in America doing it. But it makes the news that he's not in Newcastle, or it's always about Newcastle. Or, the moment you think about Alan Shearer, for the negative or positive, negative meaning, when you banter other clubs, when he says something, Liverpool fans, they're going at him because of what he said about Isak, or it's always Newcastle with Alan Shearer. But do you really think? Do you think that Gascoigne puts Newcastle? Was he even asked about Newcastle in this interview? It's a long interview, by the way. Was he? What do you think of the team, guys?
I think what you're forgetting, Chris, is he wasn't at Newcastle for a great deal of time.
No, I know that, but Wayne is saying that he will be mobbed if he comes to Newcastle.
Well, he would because he's Gaza. I think that's the problem that you've got. You're thinking him as a footballer.
Right.
It's more as a personality, and the probably the England side of it as well, but more as a personality that he get more from Newcastle, not for where he played for Newcastle.
Actually, that would be what I'm saying is that Gascoigne, he's the one that grew up in Newcastle. He's the one that was born in Newcastle. He's the one that played for Newcastle, who at the time must have been, I would assume, the glory of his life to play for Newcastle until he moved on and did what he did. But so does Gascoigne put Newcastle in limelight? Does he put Newcastle as in, does he put Newcastle in the middle of it all, or is he just Gaza, the personality that everybody, including somebody from Ipswich, talks about? That's my point. Does he put Newcastle like Alan Shearer puts Newcastle in the middle of everything? Like,
is a national personality.
Yeah, that's all fine. I'm talking about Newcastle United. So we all agree with that. We all know why he's known.
But he only had, like Porgy said, he only had effectively one season with us, and that was when he was a fantastic teenager.
But what I'm trying to tell you, for him, he's a Geordie. It's not about whether I think he's a great Newcastle footballer or not. It's not about that. It's about him as a Geordie. Do you hear him put Newcastle in the conversation?
Well, I do a little bit, because like he's synonymous with his accent. So like a lot of people would say,
well,
I don't know what the hell he said. Do you know what I mean? Like, because it's such a broad accent. I remember he was on as a pundit for one of the World Cups quite a while ago, and he was speaking, and half the people were saying, I don't know what he said there. Do you know what I mean? Because it's such a broad accent. So in that sense, he puts Newcastle, like, you know what I mean, in the conversation, because it's such a broad Geordie accent. But I think he's got an affiliation with, like, Rangers.
Well, he can't run away. He can't run away from being a Geordie. That's a fact. But I'm just asking: is he a good ambassador for Newcastle United?
I don't think he is an ambassador for Newcastle United. He's an ambassador for Paul Gascoigne.
Well, there you go. That's the answer I wanted to hear. Plain and simple. That's the answer. He's a Gaza FC guy, and he's a fair play because he's entitled to do whatever he wants. But we've had these conversations many times. We had these shows many times.
But he's still revered in Newcastle because he's a Geordie.
Yeah, that. But I mean, when we had these shows, Gaza really wasn't thought of or brought in the conversation. Again, people forget. I don't forget. I have a good memory. We go a lot of folks in the chat maybe weren't watching at the time, but we've done greatest of all times. We've done the draft. Remember the draft? We got to come back to that.
For Newcastle.
No, but again, it doesn't matter, man. Because if Maradona, if Cristiano Ronaldo played for Newcastle for one season, I guarantee you he will be picked for every greatest of all time team.
Yeah, but again, Paul Gascoigne was not the great best player in the world, Paul Gascoigne, at the time he played for Newcastle.
I think if you ask the question differently,
coming up through the ranks and doing the business, and one of our own, if you like, but he made his name elsewhere.
I think if you asked that question, Chris, if you said who are the best players who've become world-class players to play for Newcastle or been world-class players for Newcastle, then Gaza would get a mention. I think, as I say, the problem is when you're talking about teams, the best teams Newcastle have ever had, he's not in there because he wasn't here when he was
No,
at.
but if you were,
it'd be a bit like, I suppose, to flip the coin would be a bit like saying who's the best left back ever to play for Newcastle. Not a single one would ever mention John Barnes in that category because he was too old when he got here. But he was a great left back, great left winger when he was at Liverpool in them days.
Yeah.
So it's the same sort of scenario that he wasn't here at the peak of his career.
Why did he never come back to Newcastle? Because God knows, you know.
To play for us, you mean?
Yeah. Because I think.
Knackered. Well, it was.
He kicking a man when he's down, man. You know, but
even when he went to play for Rangers, he wouldn't have been good enough to play for Newcastle.
I think you've got to look at who he went to, Chris. After he in his later career, right? But he was
no, but he played for Middlesbrough.
He was at Middlesbrough for a while. Who weren't?
Well, that's what I'm saying. He played for Middlesbrough. I mean, he could. We were actually probably decent. We were good in 98, 2000. I think that's when. Right, I think that's when he went to Middlesbrough, late 90s. Yeah. So maybe we didn't need him, but I'm just saying, man. Listen, I'm all for Gascoigne. Actually, I think I would pick him as because he came out of he played for Newcastle and he was a Geordie, so I would actually choose him. But now it's all fun and games saying, Gas is a Geordie because he talks. But when we did these examples in these shows, people weren't bothered. So that's the point I'm putting across. And I do get it, Brian. I do get it. Because I would pick him. Because I know the talent that he was at the time. And he did play for Newcastle. And he was a Geordie. But I know that a lot of Geordies didn't.
And he comes back to Newcastle regularly. And wherever he goes, he gets mobbed.
Yeah. It'd be interesting if he ever makes the news. Because I never heard of it. And I hear everything really, about as far as news is concerned with Newcastle.
I think he was at one of the games this season.
Well, it'd be interesting to get notoriety, so people can think, this guy is, he's had too much fun, but he still reps Newcastle United. He talks about Newcastle United. I haven't heard of him, in this particular interview.
No, I don't think I've ever particularly heard him banging the drum.
In this particular interview, did he even say, where he was asked about, what do you think about Eddie Howe? Newcastle is doing great, don't you think? What about the takeover? Does he really get into in depth about Newcastle United? Is my question. Possibly not, but I guess to each their own. It is what it is. But yeah, he surely could have done more in his career. He was a 10, something like that. Left wing.
Yes.
I would call him an 8, but people think about 8 as defensive now.
I think if we had him now, we'd be playing in Joe Linton or Bruno's spot, wouldn't he?
Interesting that Michael Mick in the chat says Bobby Charlton was a Geordie, great player, but not regarded by me as a Geordie. That's what his, that's what.
I'm in for a while, to be fair.
Well, but you don't think
what was that
we already had this conversation where we said people from that area, where's he from? Not Ashington, right?
Ashington, yeah.
Are would be legitimately labeled as a Geordie.
He is a Geordie by birth, but
well, that's what I'm saying.
Just to pick up on that point, Chris, I think Ashington's 50-50. You've got a lot because of the pits, the way the pits were around here. You've got probably about 50% of them are Sunderland. If you go to Ashton and go down the high street, it's probably 50-50 Newcastle tops and Sunderland tops.
Yeah. So
I think it's gradually fading. That certainly was the case, years back when the mines were open. That a lot of Macklin miners were up there and miners' families.
Mm-hmm. We'll come for a pint up there, winning. You can see how many there are.
Yeah.
I've been up. One of my best pals is a Mackham, and he's from Bedlington. For that. I was
going to say Bedlington's the same.
That's a knackered you are. But yeah, interesting stuff. But he made the news. He made the news. Guys are everywhere. And everybody's waiting for Gascoigne to say something though, to get clipped all over the place.
That's exactly it. That's what he is now.
That's what the media wants, though. That's the
it's
media.
Tragic, really, but that's what they want him for now, for to make a gaff or do something sensational. Mm-hmm. And sadly, he's matured a bit, it would appear.
Yeah. Interesting here. Brian says that he said in the interview he was told never forget where you come from. So, well, interesting. Thank you, Brian Quinn, for that one. Interesting, but you know,
that was his dad.
Yeah. By the way, the max member ballot for our home clash with Man City on Saturday, November 22, is now open. So if you want to get your tickets, you know, if you're a member plus, you better go in and try it out. So maybe you're lucky. Some people are not lucky. Because everything about the season ticket holders, again, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, that's what poor old Boki can only go once, twice, you know, if he can. But Mighty Wayne's the one clogging up all the tickets with his mates. But there you go. Actually, I wanted to show you guys this right here. Because this was 27 years. Oh, we got quiz as well, man. We got to move on. I wanted to show you this this is 27 years ago. Do you remember this? 27 years ago would be? My math ain't math.
1998.
Oh, that's not even. I was 4 years old. I was 4 years old? 1998? That can't be, man.
So that would be.
Oh, it would be, yeah. Yeah, it would be. Oh, my God. It's been.
Dalglish going into.
I'm old, man. I am knackered. I'm starting to look like Gascoigne a little bit. But anyway. So I wanted to show you guys this right here, though. Because this was 27 years ago. Do you remember this particular situation? Hopefully I can get it sorted, but let's go.
This town is my town. It's where I belong. I was born and bred here. These streets are my streets. I learned to kick a ball against this wall. If the truth be told, I was never that interested at school. I quite like woodwork, mind. But I got my real education here, Wallsend Boys Club, where I was discovered by Jack Hickson. And we remain great friends to this day. I stood on these terraces when I was a kid, dreaming of one day playing for Newcastle. But success hasn't changed me. I still like doing normal things, just like everyone else. A muck chicken sandwich, please. I'm just an ordinary bloke at heart, one of the people. Always have been, always will be.
He's a bit boring, isn't he? Aye. You're not wrong there, like.
I cannot remember Alan Shearer doing a McDonald's advert.
That's a McDonald's, but the ending was amazing with the Geordie dialect there. That was proper. So when he wasn't a proper Toon fan at the time anyway, so he wouldn't know. But he was Bobby Robson out. 98. That's when Bobby Robson came in, right? 98. Somewhere around there.
Oh, that was
99. Was that 99?
No, that was Hullet. Yeah, Hullet.
That was Hullet. Yeah, that was Hullet. Yeah, exactly. So
if not Dalglish, one of the two.
Yeah. Paul Bernard is coming out. You talk about their location. They're coming out. Says I've lived in Ashington all my life, and I've hardly ever seen Sunderland shirts around here. So is it divided? I would have never thought it would be divided. I mean,
well, no, like I say, it used to be. There used to be a huge, you know, I think there was 4 buses left Ashington every Saturday when Sunderland were at home. 4 double-decker buses used to go from Ashington.
Oh, the two-story buses.
Can I just
two-story buses? Aye.
Can I just say how good it was to see the old Wallsend Boys Club as well there? Being a Wallsend lad.
Oh, dang it! I got another one. I got a lot of nuggets for you tonight, man. This is I mean, I know I'm American, but you know, I'm a Geordie at heart, and I got the nuggets for you, man. Don't look anywhere. Okay, let me ask you this. Some people say you can't hear a picture. The picture is this. Can you hear the picture?
Ronnie Gill.
Ronnie Gill.
Ronnie Gill.
When did know that? When did I know that? When did I know that? He's looking around. He's like, who's that guy? Boki proper fan. Tim, he knew the answer. He knew the answer. So what was this guy about? I mean, tell me about it.
Selling the Evening Chronicle.
And for somebody said for 9 pence or something, something like that.
And the pink on it.
Threepence when I started buying it. 3D.
Remember the pink on it says?
Yeah,
Aye.
Yeah, that was the big thing, the pink.
But somebody said that in the comments that they were working in the building or something that where he was at, and they could hear him all afternoon. So what was he? What would he say?
Ronnie Gill.
Really? That's all. That's what he say.
Yeah.
Ronnie Gill.
Which is Chronicle.
You just hear it echoing when you come on the corner.
It sounded the Chronicle sounded like Ronnie Gill when he was shouting it.
And that's outside of FedEx, isn't it? That he's at.
Outside Marks and Sparks on Northumberland Street.
So just down from Eldon Square.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Outside, yeah, more or less outside.
I think with the pink, I might have got the last edition of that. For some reason, I've got it in my head that the last one was when we beat West Ham 3-1. I think it was away. I think Owen got a hat trick. For some reason, I've got that in my head. That was the last edition of the pink when it covered that match.
When you think of it, how quickly did they used to print that?
Oh, that would be. But that's why the paper, and the paper is cheap paper, by the way. Cheap newspaper paper is cheap. We were poor back. I want to know a story? No, I can't tell you the story. But we were poor back in Peru, man. We used to use newspaper. After we read them, we used to stack them up. And
yeah, we used to use them for that and all.
we used to stack them up after the old ones used to go in the bathroom, shall we say?
Yeah, that's right.
But there you go, man.
Or swap a pail of them to the chip shop for a bag of chips.
So that's very cool, man. That's very good. All right, so now I do got we entered the quiz though. We're gonna start having some of these intros. Got a quiz I got to take out. I got to stop sharing because some of you will cheat. Got a few questions for you, folks, and please get involved in the chat. We got a few questions. A couple of minutes left on the show here. Let me see. Well, no, I can't ask you that because obviously you got to watch it. So, all right. Born on this day, you got to get this one. Born on this day in 1946. 1946. A player of immense and rare talent, he could read the game like no other. In a few games for Newcastle, he was either outstanding or brilliant. Such was his impact on the team that the St. James's faithful idolized him. Career sadly ended by injury. Born in 1946.
Bob Moncur?
No.
Ended by injury. 46.
Yeah. 46. No, but he was born in 46, man.
Yeah, so 46. So he would be playing 21 in about 67. 67 to 69.
He's probably one of the first with the emblem on the shirt. Probably one of the first.
Who was one of the best then? Stan Anderson, maybe.
All right, give me one, man. Give me one.
46. Frank Clark.
All right.
I'm only saying because the comments like, but Green. I mean, I said Bob Moncur, but you said that's wrong, so I'll go with Green.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, Boki.
I wouldn't have a clue. Not a clue. I'll be honest.
Not a clue. Tony Green, ladies and gentlemen. Tony Green. Wait, Tony Green, man.
Yeah, Tony Green's the best midfielder I've ever seen. I told you before Tonali came on.
Well, apparently not, because you forgot about him. So there you go.
34 games he played.
Apparently not, man. Apparently
that makes him 6 years older than me, so it makes him. I didn't think he was that old.
And on top of that, you insult him. All right, that's nice.
He had played 34 games, and I saw every single one of them except for
people in the chat doing that.
Away at Hereford. I couldn't get a ticket. I couldn't get in for that game.
Yeah, whatever.
Did Tony Green not do the scoring on Bullseye as well?
No, that's a different Tony Green.
All right.
When he finished his career, when they had the pools panel, when they had a load of games abandoned, so that the pools had the pools panel to declare what they thought the results were going to be, and he was on that pools panel.
I got another one. So on this day in 2001, we thrashed Bolton 4-0. Who scored those goals? 2001, we
Shearer,
thrashed Bolton.
Bellamy, Robert.
I'm not saying yeah or nay. I'm giving you the time to say the 4.
I think Shearer might have got 2.
All right.
That's Nobby. No, I think Nobby.
Okay, so you go and then win.
Well, it's that era, isn't it?
Huh?
But, I mean, I don't know.
I can picture the game.
But it's that era.
What era?
2001. You know, Robson. So you had Bellamy, Robert.
Oh, yeah, you wanted them out. Exactly, yeah, we know that. So who scored, man?
Well, I don't know. I would just be guessing.
Oh, my God. Boki, who was it, man?
I'd go with the same 3, and I'm trying to think. I think a central defender might have scored. Was it Aaron Hughes or someone like that?
Well, I'll tell you this. We're about to finish, by the way. Tim got it all right, man. Craig Bellamy, Alan Shearer, Laurent Robert, and Nobi Solana scored for Newcastle that day. Well, he cheated, by the way, though, because people in the chat were telling him.
No.
Okay. There you go.
I said it before then.
I think Tim told the chat.
Yep.
Today, we got another one. Today, born on this day, today in 1980, ex-midfielder. And he was captain for us as well.
Did he make some 45?
I'm gonna give you. He played with Northern Rock advertising.
He was captain.
Niboya.
That's your guess? Wrong. Actually, this was 2006 when he played. I'm looking at the goal here. 2006. I can't give you any more than that. Okay. I mean, so
that's the gold one, isn't it? Gold Northern Rock. So
yeah,
I'll have another goal.
Yeah, go on. And he scored I think he scored. This is against Middlesbrough in 2006. Nice shot too, man. So
Liam O'Brien.
Wrong. Tim, who you say?
Emery?
No. Boki?
Trying to think because he's my age.
Middlesbrough, but Liam O'Brien was way before that.
Who was vice captain under Shearer is the question, isn't it? Because it would have probably still been Shearer at the time.
Well, he could have been captain. I don't know after Shearer left or
something. Oh no, I think Shearer was still captain, but I think he would have been probably injured by the sound of it.
No, he's playing right now. So
I know who it was. I think.
Hughes again.
It is the one and only Scott Parker. Come on, man, Scott Parker, man. Irish Assassin got it right. There you go.
Chris, question for you then. What Scott Parker and Shearer got in common?
They're bald.
Oh, from being Newcastle. Nothing to do with Newcastle at all?
Nah. No. I don't know.
Same birthday?
Both done McDonald's adverts.
Ah, there you go. Interesting.
Scott Parker was a young kid, remember, who kept it up in the back garden before getting took to McDonald's.
Yeah, actually, we're running out of time. Anyway, folks, it's been a lovely one. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and appreciate all of you out there. We'll be back again tomorrow. Gary,
for all of the sound issues.
It was knacker.
Sorted eventually.
So anyway, we'll be live again tomorrow at midday, the Daily Show with Gary and Win, and be back at it tomorrow night. So join us. We'll see you then, folks. Take care. Away the lads.